in the bowl of night has flung the stone that puts the stars to flight. And lo, the hunter of the east has caught the Sultan's turret in a noose of light. The first day of spring in Isfahan, the heart of Iran. A royal city and one-time capital of Persia, it is one of the oldest cities in the country and one of the great cities of Asia. Isfahan resembles a beautiful garden of delights, bounded to the north and east by desert and to the south by mountains. A fascinating garden, for its fruits are various and intricate and have been so for centuries. The gardeners are the finest of craftsmen. The produce, the objects they fashion with their skilled hands. Their market is the local bazaar and the world, for the arts and crafts of Isfahan hold a unique fascination still, continuing as they do traditions as old as time. These craftsmen have been perfectionists since childhood. Since the noise of the incessant hammering came merely a background flights of fancy. The creative process needs little thought, for this copper plate has been beaten as these men beat it now for as long as they can remember, and much, much longer. And that inverted bowl we call the sky, whereunder crawling, cooped, we live and die. Lift not thy hands to it for help, for it rolls impotently on, as thou or I. Objects of a decorative as well as functional nature are enameled with bright glowing colors. These copper casings will eventually become hanging lamps, the type that may once have graced the hidden cave of Ali Baba and his 40 thieves. They are first painted white all over, and then various designs in enamel are carefully applied to the outside. Typical of the strength of the family unit in Isfahan, the men and boy at work here are all related, father and son, uncle and nephew. The boy, about 10 years old, may be working for his father's business full-time. Or perhaps, as it is Nowruz, the Persian New Year holiday season, he may just be helping out during his school vacation. Whatever the reason, it is usually the custom in a family such as this that as soon as a young boy can hold a paintbrush or a hammer, he is expected to help and earn his keep. This early training will prove invaluable for the future, when, as a competent, skilled craftsman, he will inherit the family business. When the hand painting is completed, The lamps are then ready for firing. This is the magic process which transforms the ordinary painted copper objects into the glowing, almost jewel-like colors of an exotic harem. The firing usually takes place in the early hours of the morning. Rostam Yusufi is probably the first to start work in Isfahan each day. The enameling process itself takes only 60 seconds. Any longer at this temperature, and the delicate colors will run into each other and be spoiled. The heat from the kiln is so intense that they have to begin the process in the cool of early morning. For later in the day, it can be almost as hot on the street as it is in the oven. Nature still rules the working day for the craftsmen of Isfahan. An early start means that more work can be done while the temperature is still comfortable during the morning. By midday, the heat becomes oppressive, and the lunch hour is stretched to include a siesta. Work carries on after the siesta, average hours being from 7 in the morning to 7 at night. Sunrise and sunset mean much more here than the precision of Western time. A gentle, regular rhythm is characteristic of any of the workmen in Isfahan. In the bell foundry, Kaju Shahaba works at filling his molds with moist sand with this gentle, natural rhythm. He is preparing the molds to receive the molten brass from which the bells are made, something he does on average 6 to 8 times each day. This little metal piece imprints his trademark on the finished cast bell. After being allowed to settle for about 5 minutes, the molds are warmed with a blow lamp to dry out and solidify the sand, as a final preparation before pouring on the white-hot liquid metal. The top and bottom sections are placed one on the other, and the whole is overturned to receive the brass. Years and years of methodically repeating the same actions leave their mark in the form of suppleness and grace. Repetitive work, however, does not create the same tensions as it does in a modern factory. There are no strict time regulations, no piecework, foremen or shop stewards. The working day, like the Iranian lifestyle in general, is leisurely and taken at a natural pace. No one pushes his fellow workman to an extreme his normal temperament cannot cope with. Fifteen minutes later, when they have had time to cool, the molds are dismantled. The rough brass bells are removed, later to be ground down and then polished into the finished article. One of the most highly skilled crafts in Isfahan is copper engraving. The trays, seen earlier being beaten from copper plate, are embedded in pitch, 3/4 of an inch thick, which is placed on a large round piece of wood set on the ground. This ensures a firm base when the tiny chisels are hammered into the copper. It also cuts down the noise. Flower and leaf designs are very common and popular, and have developed into very intricate and beautiful patterns over the centuries. Isfahan is located in a desert area, where gardens with growing plants and flowering shrubs exist only where man takes care and trouble to intervene in nature's course. Flowers have become a worthy form of decoration, not only because of their beauty and the ease with which they are incorporated into the formal designs the Persians have always been fond of, but more importantly, because of its symbolic meaning. For in Isfahan, the growth of a flower is a triumph of man over nature. One of Persia's philosopher poets, Hafiz, wrote in The Lesson of the Flowers, "Like flowers oppressed by love's sweet pain, I wander in a garden fair." and there, to cool my throbbing brain, I woo the perfumed morning air. The damask rose with beauty gleams, its face all bathed in ruddy light, and shines like some bright star that beams from out the somber veil of night. The very bulbul, as the glow of pride and passion warms its breast, forgets a while its former woe in pride that conquers love's unrest. The sweet narcissus opes its eye, a teardrop glistening on the lash, as though 'twere gazing piteously upon the tulip's bleeding gash. The lily seemed to menace me, and showed its curved and quivering blade, while every frail anemone a gossip's open mouth displayed. And here and there, a graceful group of flowers, like men who worship wine, each raising up his little stoop to catch the dewdrop's draught divine. This moral it is mine to sing. Go learn a lesson of the flowers. Joy's season is in life's young spring. Then seize, like them, the fleeting hours. About 60 feet below street level, under the bazaar, in the cellar of a house reputed to be over 500 years old, is this dark, brick-lined cavern. The strength and endurance of the camel is used here to crush and grind cereals or seeds. The domed ceiling is 30 feet above an enormous stone grinding wheel, which stands 5 feet tall, is 2 feet thick, and weighs 2 or 3 tons. The camel's press, as it is known, is the last one operating in Isfahan. This is a dying trade, a relic of a bygone age. Another dying trade is cotton separating. Freshly picked raw cotton is fluffed into cotton wool balls in this unusual way by vibrating the wire with a blow from the mallet. The cotton is sold for domestic use. For in the marketplace one dusk of day, I watched the potter thumping his wet clay. And with its all-obliterated tongue it murmured, "Gently, brother, gently pray." In the past, glass blowing was a prominent trade in Isfahan. Today, Mustafa Karimi is one of the few men in the city who can handle liquid glass in this way. His competitors moved to industrial Tehran and modernization. In Mustafa's small glass-making factory, the production line is not mechanical and automatic, churning out mass-produced glass bottles, but limited to the speed at which the men can comfortably work. In Isfahan, you can still drink beer from a bottle which doesn't look exactly like any other, but shows signs that human hands have been involved in its production. Take lac color and cochineal. Steep from 4 to 6 days in the sun, stirring constantly, until a deep, rich color comes where some has stood for a few minutes in a thin glass bottle and settled. Then strain through 2 cloths and put in pomegranate rind and good iron filings water. Add mineral acid. Steep the wool for 36 hours, then boil for 3 more. Wash well and dry. Before the advent of modern artificial dyes, recipes for such natural dyes made from animal, mineral, or vegetable origins were jealously guarded secrets. The art of dyeing wool for carpets was a specialized family tradition, handed down from father to son. And the success of the business depended on such strong and reliable recipes for each of the 12 to 15 necessary colors. After the dyeing process, the steaming wool is carried up onto the roof to be hung on racks to dry in the sun. These days, individual wool dyers are not as common as they once were. The use of modern dyes has taken the art and mystery out of the skillful blending of a mixture that was almost a witch's brew. The system here operates rather like a dry cleaning service in the West. The weavers bring in their raw wool after it has been sorted, cleaned, scoured, and hand-spun into yarn. The required color is specified, and the wool left with the dye master to be collected a few days later, for a fee, of course. It is Shahar Shambe Suri, the last Wednesday of the old and outgoing year. Small dried bushes or bote have been collected and scattered bonfires are ablaze. It is the tradition in Isfahan, as in all Iran, for each member of the family to leap the flames. A scorching away of the last remnants of winter in preparation for the rebirth of spring, in preparation for a new year in Isfahan. Fill the cup. What boots it to repeat how time is slipping beneath our feet? Unborn tomorrow and dead yesterday. Why fret about them if today be sweet? A typical village outside Isfahan, its characteristic mud brick walls covered with smeared mud, making up small square houses. Small square windows look out onto backyards with gardens growing blossoming trees and rose bushes, all enclosed within high mud walls. It is in such a location that we find most Persian carpets being made today. The 16th century was the golden age for carpets in Persia, when Shah Abbas the Great established a court manufactory in Isfahan. However, the art fell into a decline after reaching this peak, and was only seriously revived after the First World War. Today, many carpets are made in this way, in private homes. The women are provided with the loom, the dyed wools, and the design to be followed, and work under contract to the trader in the city. The design from which the women are working has been laboriously transferred onto squared paper, each square representing a knot and in the correct coloring. The designs are traditional, mainly being direct copies of originals created in the court of Shah Abbas in the 16th century. Looms for hand knotting have not changed much over the centuries. The foundation threads for the warps and wefts are hand spun, either from cotton or from silk. In the center of Isfahan, Abdullah Jababa manages his shop as well as supervising the making of carpets all over the outskirts of the city. For him, Persian carpets mean a flourishing business in a luxury commodity. For the women of the village, they mean a small but steady income from an almost feudal system of work. It is the shop owner who benefits from international trade, while the artists work in the suburbs at a fixed rate of exchange. As early as the 16th century, the fame of Persian carpet makers had spread across Europe and into England. The historian Richard Hakluyt, when sending Mr. Morgan Hubblethorne, a dyer, out to Persia, gave these instructions. In Persia you shall find carpets of coarse thrummed wool, the best of the world, and excellently colored. Those cities and towns you must repair to, and you must use means to learn all the order of the dyeing of those thrums, which are so dyed as neither rain, wine, nor yet vinegar can stain. The domes and minarets which grace Isfahan's skyline are covered in brightly colored and intricate patterns. They are not painted or made up of mosaics. They are composed of interlocking ceramic tiles, highly glazed with mirror-like surfaces. The tiles are not always square, but cut to different shapes and sizes. These strips of paper, cut from a simple pattern, are being glued to the surface of a tile. The various shapes are then chipped out, and the pieces are set into another tile of a complementary color, and with the corresponding pieces removed. A design is built up in this way. These tiles are about 3/4 of an inch thick, 3 times thicker than the standard bathroom tile. The making of picture frames is a thriving small industry in Isfahan. The designs are peculiar to the city and are made up from a wooden frame which is inlaid with small decorated panels. First, copper wire is filed down to shape. This is done in a triangular groove, for the inlay is composed of triangular rods carefully bonded together. The making of these colourful inlays is intricate and involved, and much more work goes into them than you would guess from looking at the finished product. Orange wood strips, dyed to different colours, are also filed to shape. Because of their triangular shape, the rods, when placed together, fit neatly. The pattern in the inlay is built up in this way, using the colours for different effects, and the individual rods are glued together in bunches and bound with cotton to make firm. A number of these bunches are glued together, sandwiched between strips of wood, and thereby made up into a block. From this block, the thin strips of veneer used to decorate the frames can be sawn off into lengths 1/16 of an inch thick. These are then filed smooth and added to the frame border. Veneers of different designs are separated from each other by narrow strips of camel bone. Ahmed is the eldest of the three Okhovat brothers, now regarded as the best modern school of miniature painters in Isfahan. When he was 15, Ahmed entered a painting competition for teenagers from all over the country and won a scholarship in Tehran. The prize was awarded by a famous Indian school of miniature painting. From that moment on, he was able to concentrate on the miniature style and eventually to open a shop in his own right. Ahmed's brothers, Jafar and Rasul, joined him after he had been in business for only a short while, They probably spent about 3/4 of their lives in a cross-legged position on couches, surrounded by their work of the previous winter months. The miniature style is a traditional Iranian school of painting, some of the best examples of which can be seen in old Persian manuscripts in the world's leading museums. The brothers work mainly on the smaller, simpler paintings, which produce a rapid turnover during the summer season. At the same time, they work intermittently on larger, more intricate designs, which often take many months to complete. This one was later sold for $900 American. It is miniatures such as this which represent the heights to which the painter's art can aspire.
These are original paintings, you know. We had a lot of famous poets, and they believe people must have a long time loving, dancing, music, drinking wine, everything. They peace break. Omar Khayyam, Hafiz, Sadi, Ferdowsi. They have the same idea, and all of our painting is in the way of our famous poets. And in Safavid time, people play polo in the square. Yes. A very famous popular story about Shirin and Farhad, and in the background you can see their idea.
But these are like Romeo and Juliet. Is that?
Yes, that's the same. Iranian Romeo and Juliet. Shirin and Farhad. Shirin and Farhad. Shirin is the name of the lady. Shirin.
That doesn't mean
sweet.
sweet.
Yes,
yeah.
sweet. And Farhad is a lover.
That's beautiful.
This is very kind of you.
How much was this thing?
This one, 14,000 riyals.
14.
Okay, now which is your favorite of all the...
All of these.
This picture represents part of Hafiz's philosophy, that the old should know when to retire and make way for the young. But longer midst the young and fair, with happy mind and easy air, can I, delighted, roam? When hark, the heart-alarming bell proclaims aloud with dismal knell, depart, thy hour is come. "65 years old, Hushang Bakeri belongs to the old school of miniaturists. The paintings he has on display in his shop are all his own work. He sells work for no other artist, A miniature is a small watercolor painting with a great deal of intricate detail done on a piece of ivory. The very fine brushes used are special. They are composed of cat hairs. Persian cat hairs, of course. Miniaturists often keep the breed purely for this purpose. Here are the traditional designs from the 16th century, from the time of Shah Abbas and the poets Omar Khayyam and Hafiz. The remarkable work we have seen so far represents the most skilled artists and craftsmen living and working in Isfahan today. Surpassing all in delicacy and beauty is the work of Abu Taleb Suzanabadi, the silversmith. Tucked away in his little shop, Abu Taleb is both silversmith and engraver, craftsman and artist. Above all, he is a perfectionist. His precision and mastery of the craft stands out as the finest of anything handmade in Isfahan. Most people in Isfahan would agree with Omar Khayyam's philosophy. But they are very proud of their beautiful city. They are concerned that future generations will continue uninterrupted the flow of fine artists and craftsmen that began in the 6th century BC, when the vast Persian Empire extended from India 2,000 miles west into Greece. There is an old phrase the citizens rhyme with the name Isfahan. It is Nesfe Jahan, which means half the world. For to them, Isfahan is just that.